Hello, I've just left China. I'm now here in Lombok, Indonesia. So now I can tell you my unfiltered opinions about traveling China without fear of getting kicked out. All the culture shocks, everything that was awesome, everything that was terrible, everything that went wrong, all the surprises, and I'll even talk about girls and nightlife at the end, because I know you'll want to stick around for that, you freak, you sicko, you like Chinese girls. Anyway. The first shock and the biggest problem I had was that my phone didn't work at all after I landed in China, which as a brain-fried Gen Zer was very upsetting for me. Now, I had heard about the Great Firewall. I knew that a lot of Western websites were blocked. I had an eSIM, I had a VPN subscription, neither of them worked, which meant I couldn't use mobile data, I could just use Wi-Fi, and most foreign websites are blocked. Most importantly, Google and Facebook. Now, you probably don't think you use Google and Facebook that much, but if you have an Android, you rely on Google for the Google Play Store where you download all your apps. Probably use Google Maps. You need Google for Gmail. You probably use a Google browser. Probably use Google as search engine. You probably use YouTube. Probably use Google Translate and lots of other stuff that's connected to Google. And you probably don't think that being blocked from Facebook is a big deal. But it's not just Facebook, it's Instagram, and more importantly, it's also Tinder. So this left me in a bit of a pickle. And it's my fault about the eSIM, because it turns out my phone doesn't take eSIMs. I had to get a physical SIM card. But the VPN not working, I was very disappointed about. I don't want to say which one it was. It has a blue logo, it's promoted by a lot of YouTubers, and it rhymes with Ford VPN. It sucks. Didn't work in China. Because even after I had gotten my Chinese SIM card, I still couldn't access most of the foreign internet that I usually used. So I couldn't find any information about where to go. Most of the websites I could use were in Chinese, which I can't read. I could use maps and I could order taxis, so I wasn't like lost anymore. But it was very difficult. And my only contact with my family was my Microsoft Outlook email address. Now, another problem is VPNs are illegal in China, so you can't download one on the Chinese internet. So in order to access the foreign internet, I'd need to get a VPN. And to get a VPN, I would need a VPN. Fortunately, I was able to meet some other foreigners, get a hotspot off them, and then download a VPN that did work, which was Astral. And Astral's awesome. Great VPN, highly recommend it. No affiliation with them whatsoever. But Astral and that random British couple saved me. The next big shock. All the cars and all the bikes are electric. Pretty cool, actually, because there's a lot less smog than there used to be. China gets a really bad rap for having smog, but they have actually cleaned it up a lot. The e-bikes are the main way that people get around in China. They're very cheap, they're very accessible, but people drive them like absolute maniacs. They're riding fast on the footpath. They're going over pedestrian overpasses. They're running red lights and not stopping for people crossing the road. It's mental. It's not great being a pedestrian in these cities in China. The only exception was Hong Kong. Next up is just public etiquette in general. There's people spitting and smoking and pushing in everywhere. Every time I want to get off a train in China, which is a lot because I use the metro a lot, there'll be some old person standing directly in front of the door that you have to push through to get out. Now, in most other countries, you wait on the platform until everyone who wants to come off the train has come off the train, and then you step on. But In China, especially the old people, they just want to rush in first. I guess maybe they're hoping to get a seat. This is not like a cultural difference or something. There's literally signs and videos telling people not to do this, but they still do it. So that's a little disappointing. Next thing. China is virtually cashless. I like using cash for some stuff. It can be convenient. In a lot of countries, when you use cards, there's a surcharge, especially with foreign transactions. They give you an extra charge. But Alipay on the phone is awesome because you can pay for virtually everything through that. There's usually zero fees, even for international. It's very safe as well. And you can link Alipay to, you can use QR codes in person, you can link it to online services and other apps. You can use Alipay for everything. You can order food on it at a restaurant through their app, instead of having to download whatever restaurant you're at's app, which is really annoying. You can just scan their QR code on Alipay. Comes up with the menu. It can translate the menu for you. You can pick the things you want, pay for it through Alipay. It's awesome. And I didn't find this out until the last city in China I was in, Shanghai. But you can also use Alipay as like your public transport card. It detects the location that you're in, and then you can just scan this QR code to get on and off the metro or the bus, which is awesome. And it just charges you through Alipay, very cheap. We should be doing this. The next big shock that's connected with that is China's infrastructure is like shockingly good. In my opinion, the best in the whole world. Certainly the best of any country I've been to. Every city I went had a great metro system. Everywhere you wanted to go in the city is within a 10-minute walk of a metro station. It's super cheap, it's fast, it's a little crowded, but not like, it's not excessive. I was only like packed in shoulder to shoulder on one train, which was actually in Hong Kong, but the rest of them, it was great. At rush hour, there'll be a train every 2 minutes. It's so fast. The metro stations are really clean, nice, easy to get on and off of with Alipay. There is security on the way in to all the metro stations, which is a little bit annoying, but it's pretty fast. Yeah. And then the high-speed rail between the cities is also fantastic. It's really cheap, fast, convenient way to get around within China, and it's so much better than flying. Way more comfortable. There's much more leg room. You don't have like low air pressure. Everything on China runs on time, all the time, which is something I'm not used to traveling Southeast Asia. Here, everything takes forever, but in China, everything's so fast, which I was really impressed with. And you know how like when you've got a flight somewhere, you have to get there like minimum hour and a half early. Some people go earlier than that even, because you got to check in bags, you got to go through security, you got to get to the terminal. It's so annoying. I showed up for these trains like 15 minutes before they left, and I was on there. They load them up quickly. The ticket is connected to your passport, so you don't even need a physical ticket. You just scan your passport. You go to the platform. They load everyone on super quickly. At a major station, the train stops for like 10 minutes, and at a smaller one, it stops for 2 minutes. So that could be a bit stressful because you've got such a short time to get on. I saw some foreigners would like get stressed out about this. They'd like go to the ticket check early, trying to get on the train, and like people would tell them to wait because that train wasn't boarding yet, even though it was like 15 minutes until it left. Because it is kind of like taking a plane, the whole like atmosphere of the railway stations. The high-speed rail's fantastic. It's also just a great experience being on a train that's going like 350 k's an hour. It's so cool. It blows out of the water anything in Australia. So, and all of the airports and all of the high-speed rail stations have metro connections. In fact, the one in Shenzhen, there is a high-speed rail station. On top of that's an airport, and underneath both of them is a metro station, which is bonkers. Although, one small little annoyance there as well, any power banks going to China have this 3C symbol, which I think are only on Chinese domestic market battery banks. So they took away my battery bank, which I was pretty cut about because it was really good. But fortunately, China's probably the best place in the world to buy a new battery bank. Next up, in terms of crime, China is the safest country I have been in, and it's not even close. It's like, yeah, there's surveillance, but if you're living in the West, your city probably has mass surveillance as well, and there's still machete attacks. So in China, they actually use the mass surveillance to lock up criminals. I know it's a crazy concept if you're from a Western country, because for us, the mass surveillance, it's just to keep tabs on everyone, I guess. But China, it's used to crush crime down to zero. They can be quite harsh on the criminals, but it's safe. And the cities have like no homeless people, almost no beggars, probably because the police get rid of them. But I like being in a city that doesn't have homeless people and beggars. So, hey, it is what it is. Next up, foreigner prices. It is like many other countries. People will try to charge you extra as a foreigner. Not if you're not at restaurants, because the prices are all set in Alipay, but in markets, they're always trying to rip me off. And hotels also. So any hotel that's being advertised in English is probably going to be a little more expensive than a local one. And one of the reasons for that is that hotels have to register with the police when they're hosting foreign guests. So I guess there is a bit of a reason for that. It's a bit of a headache. Some hotels maybe don't have English-speaking staff. They don't want to host foreigners for whatever reason. The worst case of this I had was in Guangzhou, where the hotel I had booked showed up and there's it's in a shit area. I get inside, it's hard to find. Indian guy arguing with the receptionist. I wait for them to finish, go up, get my key card. The guy tells me that the lift doesn't even go to my floor. So I get the lift up, then walk up the stairs, and the place was just shit. And I get to the room and it was shit too. And this place was by Chinese standards, it was fairly expensive, and Guangzhou is not a rich city. So it shouldn't be that expensive, but the reason it's so expensive is because no one wants to host foreigners in Guangzhou. A big part of this is because in Guangzhou, there are a lot of Africans and Middle Easterners, and the Chinese people maybe don't want to host them so much. So I got out of this hotel, went to another one. I didn't book it online. I just went there and paid in person, and it was cheaper and it was way nicer. So watch out for that. Now, related to this, my next thing is China's very cheap, especially considering how developed it is. Hotels are cheap, food's fairly cheap, the trains are fantastic. The metro's really cheap. The high-speed rail it's expensive compared to the metro, but it's way cheaper than flying. And it's very cheap considering the comfort. Only thing that was a little expensive was alcohol, but it's still cheap by Western standards. I think a beer at a bar would probably cost you like $4 US. So here in Indonesia, it'll be like $1.50. Um, as a foreigner, especially a tall white guy, and especially inland from the coast, I was a bit of a celebrity. People staring, especially kids. A lot of people wanted to get pictures or talk, and in particular, like high school kids, which was actually pretty cool because like they were super nice. They're probably learning English in school and maybe wanted some practice, and yeah, it was just very positive. Loved it. I couldn't leave my tour group of foreigners at the Terracotta Warriors without getting stopped by a group of high schoolers. Some people could find that annoying, but I thought it was fun. Now, last thing, the language barrier here, the language barrier in China is the worst of any country I've been to. So few people speak like any level of English. And that's partly my fault as well for being a monolingual beta male and not speaking any Chinese. It did make things difficult. Even here in Indonesia, it's like the English is not great, but it's like people know enough to kind of get by. And that made it difficult to communicate, obviously. It was also like very difficult to like have any kind of friendships or relationships with people. It made it tough to get them girls. But the nightlife in China is pretty shit anyway. Sorry to burst the bubble here. China's a great place to go to like see the very futuristic infrastructure, to learn about and see China's interesting culture and like long, interesting history. A lot of the buildings there from the old empires are very impressive and they're very good to see. Terracotta Warriors was a little underwhelming. China's an awesome place to visit, but don't go there expecting to like have a party, meet loads of chicks. For one thing, my generation of Chinese were born during the one-child policy. And if you know anything about that and about like the preference for having boys in Chinese culture, and a lot of girls going missing or getting aborted or whatever, there's a shortage of young ladies. And this is on top of an aging population already. The amount of eligible, single, English-speaking young ladies is very small. But that's not why I came to China anyway. So yeah, the nightlife, not great. The girls, not great either. Also, Tinder's blocked, so there's not many people on it. I've had a better time picking up Chinese girls in Melbourne, to be honest. But there's lots of other cool stuff to do.